Hey guys, welcome to a bit of a different video here today. I thought I'd do something slightly different, but something I think one or two people have been asking for, and I think I'd like to point you in a direction of this if you are ever wondering about tips. If you ever want tips for Football Manager, this would be the video I've probably pointed you to. What this is my Liverpool tactics. Now, what does this mean by my Liverpool tactics? If anyone has taken over Liverpool on Football Manager, and you're obviously looking for some help, here is what I advise you can do. Now, what I'm going to take you through is some different things that I do: the formations, tactics, the players, the positioning, the corner takers, the whole kind of thing. And I just thought I'd take you through it and show you just something different, and obviously a bit more of a tip video. This, I'm not, as I say, I never have claimed at any point to be any good at this game. Perhaps I get a little lucky, mainly because I am perhaps Liverpool, I am a stronger team. And I know obviously a lot of people say, oh, it's too easy going Liverpool, or it's too easy going this. I'm going to be brutally honest, I never intended this to be a huge series. Well, it's not a huge series, but a fairly strongly followed series. And obviously I'm not going to stop halfway through. People enjoy it, so I'm just going to keep continuing with this Liverpool team. I can't complain. I'm actually ahead of you at the moment on these videos. As I say, never mind. I'll probably release this at some point in the future. Probably not whilst for Chelsea. Say I just played a Chelsea game, but never mind. Anyway, I think I'm rambling on too much. So bear in mind, this is not just applying to Liverpool. This can be applied to anyone, but this is mainly for Liverpool. So if you are Liverpool and you want some help or whatever, then look at this. Now, obviously, what I'm going to tell you here can be applied to both patched and unpatched teams. Obviously, you have to improvise a bit. Obviously, I've got certain players you might not have, but then again, you might have players that I don't have. So you have to pick and choose. You have to sort of relate players to one another. For example, Suarez can be related to Torres in this case. I've got Carroll here. And I'll talk about some of the younger lads I'd recommend looking at as well. Now, the goalkeeper, obviously, it should go without saying. Obviously, Pepe Reina. That's not particularly difficult. As you can see, he actually was set to sweeper keeper. That was one of his main problems. So since I've set him back to goalkeeper, he's actually been fine. So that's the problem there. Brad Jones, to be honest, Brad Jones or Peter Galacci, who I've sent out on loan, doesn't really make much difference. In my opinion, if I had to pick, I would recommend having Galacci because he's a younger keeper and maybe obviously he's got a bit more ahead of him. But Brad Jones is the more experienced. So really, honestly, you can take your choice as one of them. But honestly, the two reserve keepers you've got are fine because very doubtful that Reina will make much of an impact. Right back now, theoretically it would be Glenn Johnson. Obviously, he is injured at this point, but ignore that. He is probably the only good right back at the moment when you start the game, but he is up and down with his defence. Obviously, he's great going forward. I wouldn't hesitate to put him on the right midfield. If you are struggling, put him in the right midfield. I mean, if we look at Johnson here, so I'll put it back to him. I'll put him there. As you can see, he, although it is not red, I'll just try and get this. I can never get the mouse perfectly positioned on these little circles. It'll tell you how he is. Try and get it on. He's competent. As you can see, he is competent as a wide midfielder. So if you are, don't hesitate to put him at right midfield because he is a better attacking than right player than a defender in my opinion. But I play him at the right anyway. Failing that, so I'll keep Johnson there for now. Your centre backs certainly at the start of the game should always, in my opinion, most definitely be Jamie Carragher. Where the hell's Carragher gone? Change the positions up. Where the hell is Carragher? Oh, there he is. Christ, he's up there for some reason. I'd rather have him at centre back personally. I mean, he can play right back, but I mean, for me, obviously in 2012 he's gotten a little older, and obviously he will. His pace will vary and obviously drift as it goes on. Aurelio, I'd prefer him to midfield, so I would play someone such as Danny Wilson. Danny Wilson's certainly one you should groom straight from the start. He will struggle at first, but if you put him in against, so provided you don't have a starting fixture list like mine, which is Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, United, Tottenham, also one. As long as you're not starting off against some really hard teams, throw him in against the slightly weaker teams in the league and he should be okay. Obviously if you're not facing Liverpool, obviously, but if you have a similar player than Danny Wilson, then throw them in against easier teams, but don't throw him in at the deep end. Wilson, though, his character for me was that he immediately said I want to be placed on the transfer list because I didn't play him after 2 games. It was very odd. If you go back to like my third or fourth video, I actually do talk about it. I say, bear in mind the first 2 games I played, one was against Blackburn. I was never going to play. I wanted to play my full strength team. I think that's fair enough. And the second game was against Arsenal at the Emirates, so I was never really going to throw him in that game. And then third game of the season, he goes, play me. And I'm like, okay. So I play him, and he's like, no, that's not good enough. I want to go on the transfer list now. And it's like, oh, you can't win in that situation. That is the main defence. I would recommend that from the start. But obviously, you can rotate that with players such as Aurelio, Skirtle, Kyrgios. I'm trying to get rid of because he's getting a bit too old now. Midfield. Now, I would certainly be starting off. Dirk Kuyt is more than a competent player on the right. He may struggle there for a time, but obviously you can't wash that one around. Of course, you can throw someone like Maxi in there as well. This is for 4-4-2. I'd say then Lucas and Gerrard in the middle. Depending on obviously how you want to go. Obviously set one for defensive. Obviously what you do there is say a central midfielder and you have him as defend. Obviously because he is a defensive midfielder. Steven Gerrard, then you can have him doing all sorts attacking as an advanced playmaker. If that doesn't suit you though, if you obviously that's if you're playing someone like say Arsenal at the Emirates. If you're playing Blackpool at home, I would recommend putting Gerrard with Morelos like this, but not have, let's say, ball-winning midfielder. I'd say support with Morelos, and then on the right, I would certainly stick someone such as Ryan Babel on the right. Obviously, if he's not there, then you can mix around plays such as, if you don't fancy Babel, you could have Maxi, or you could, if you've signed someone like Salomon Kalou, then go ahead and put him in. But just for the simplicity now, we'll keep with Maxi there for now. And obviously 4-4-2, what you can do is then you have Fernando Torres, and then you have Andy Carroll. Now obviously I know if Carroll's not in the game, if you haven't got the patch version, then fair enough. But and obviously what you can do is then you can change things up. You can put Carroll as a target man. Obviously you can change the say something tell them to attack, and obviously you can do all sorts of things. So you can switch them around. I wouldn't recommend that. Obviously Torres is more capable in that position, or you can just do this. Obviously keep them more natural. But that's your team. That is obviously you can substitute Torres for Suarez in that case. But if you don't have Carroll, you've got likes of Pacheco and Jovanovic. And although Jovanovic is quite a piss poor player, I wouldn't recommend him. You can throw Babel in there. You can throw say Pacheco. Who else? Maxi can also play there. Maybe even someone such as Suso. And obviously if you go into the reserves, you've got players such as Andras Simon, Aquilani. If he comes back, he may want to come out and play in midfield. Nathan Eccleston maybe, Gerard de Bruyne. And obviously if you want to venture even further, you can go into your under-18s. And yes, I have just yes, I had to block that. I also pressed back. Unfortunately, I saw some of the results, so I do have to block that one out. So yeah, that's that team. However, if you don't fancy that, you can always play a 4-1-3-4. Sorry, I'll start again. A 4-5-1 or variations of that. I tend to play a 4-1-3-1-1. This is unpatched. This is referring to both unpatched. So say if we keep a similar team here, so let's put Kuyt there, and then we pick Lucas. Let's sort of swap that. Okay, so this is a fairly similar team now. And we'll swap Kuyt for Maxi. So this again, fairly similar team. Wilson, who can play at left back with Carrick and Agger in the middle. That's no change. Lucas then in his defensive little hole. Maxi, Morelos, and Kuyt around the middle. Gerrard sitting in his attacking hole, so you can then change him to play advanced playmaker, whatever, and obviously Torres up front. You can change that for Carroll if you want to, change that for Suarez, whatever. Or if you don't like that, you can of course swap Gerrard for say Morelos, put Gerrard in the middle. Let's try this. Take Morelos off, wherever he's gone, lost him. There he is, and you can throw someone such as Andy Carroll on, and he will play there. Say in that, but obviously don't forget to set him as a target man. So if I do that, for example, take team instructions, obviously you got your playmakers and your target man. Primary playmaker should be someone such as Steven Gerrard, and obviously you got your primary target man as Andy Carroll. Now that should really go without saying. In that attacking midfield, he can then knock the ball onto Torres or Suarez or whoever it is you want to bring in, and he will certainly put that away. I find the philosophy. Now I rotated this. I think last season I used rigid, which means central defenders are only responsible for the defensive phase. The fullbacks are more defensive. The midfielders are responsible for both defensive and transition phases. I use that, and that seems to be fairly effective. However, fluid is split into broad attacking and defensive units, the more creative players responsible for the attacking phase, and defensive discipline players responsible for the defensive phase. Now, I tend to say that because with the 4-1-3-1-1, I sort of split it up. It's sort of split up in that sense. So you've got this line here with Lucas leading that are all charge of defence. The rest then go ahead and attack with Gerrard, mainly Gerrard going backwards as well, assisting Lucas sometimes. But that's what I would recommend. Obviously, you've got your target man supply as well. Don't forget this. I would say if you're going to have someone like Carroll, it should almost always beat ahead. I would stick with mixed personally, but if obviously you can change that on the fly in the game and say mixed. I would also recommend looking at different reserve players. We all know about John Flanagan, we all know about Jack Robinson, very competent players, and they will come through eventually. Now players such as Elzar and maybe Spearing, I'm not sure, you can do what you want with Spearing, to be honest, take it or leave him, see how he goes. He probably will progress on your game differently, but likes of Elzar I'd get rid of. Jovanovic I probably would get rid of, but again, give him a bit of time. Tom Ince's in the youth team, I'd put him up to reserves. Andras Simon, he's another one, I wouldn't put your hopes up with him. Daniel Ayala, another one, again, don't get your hopes up too much. Martin Kelly, he will most likely go out on loan, but he's always worth a shot as well. And obviously in the under-18s, then obviously we have a whole crop of different under-18s here. See the value here, we have Sam Sawyer, who's 1.4 million. I think he's like only 16 or something. So look at his, let's see, he's a regen, he's 16 and worth 1.4 million. He looks, although that is an exceptionally English name, he doesn't look particularly English, has to be said. But yeah, that's basically my team. That's how I set up my team, and that's sort of my theory in going behind the stuff. Of course, it is preference. It is always preference into how you do it. I'll go through these playing styles as well. I tend to leave mine at default. It doesn't really make too much difference, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to tell your players too much, because they'll start thinking about too much and then messes up the game. Passing style, I leave at default usually. Freedom, depending on who you're playing against. If you're playing against an Arsenal team or a United team, always be more disciplined. If you're playing against someone at home, always more freedom. Closing down, again, I just tend to leave at default. Tackling, tend to leave at default. Marking, would always go for man marking, never go for zonal marking. It should go without saying, to be honest. Crossing, depending on the type of place. If you've got a Carroll, float them across, and if you've got a Torres, drill them across. Or a Suarez for that matter as well. And roaming, I would always recommend sticking to position, unless you could apply that to certain players such as Torres and Gerrard. Only if you can, if you want to and or can individually apply them, only give it to the top quality players such as Torres, Suarez, Carroll and Gerrard. Even though Carroll, I wouldn't recommend he roam either. Backroom staff, in my opinion, what's this? Mario Balotelli even has his salaries. Of course, remember that as well. Yeah, I actually agree with that, actually, to be honest. But anyway, always remember to dismiss. Bring in someone such as, someone, I always recommend someone who is associated with the club, someone has a back knowledge of the club. And way of doing that is if you go to search, which I'll just go to, I'm going to have to block out a few results here, hold on. There we go. So if you go to research, if you go to search, if you go to staff search, and obviously look for employed or not, its favourite contains Liverpool. If you just type Liverpool in, and you'll have a load of players who are at some point associated with Liverpool, such as, there's Terry McDermott and Dean Ashton's in there for some reason. Good old Aldo's in there, Ronnie Rosenthal, Dominic Matteo, all Liverpool players, all in there. And of course, I would always recommend doing someone like that. It's always worth a shot. Bring someone like I did with Gary McAllister. Now, depending on your type of style and how you want to play, I would recommend getting rid of Samuel Lee, but that's all entirely up to you. But see how he plays. I'd give him a chance first. Anyway, so that's my Liverpool team. I hope you learned something today about this. I mean, of course, you can apply this to your own team if you want, regardless of Liverpool. But I recommend these two tactics in particular they've worked for me in the past. They won me the league. These two formations, just a regular 4-4-2 formation. If you find if you find you're struggling for that right formation, always go to the trusty 4-4-2. It always works. And this one here, 4-1-3-1-1, that seems to work for me. That's the one that mainly guided my team to the league, and it did me quite well. So I hope you learned something today, and with that I will see you next time for another video. So thanks for watching, guys, and goodbye.